Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Hack Shack. Well, it has been a while since we did the last of the Pie Hut Maker Advent Calendar for Let It Glow. And I want to catch up so I can just complete it. And the holidays were just kind of crazy. I usually try to do these Advent Calendar things with one kid or the other, but the schedules were nuts around the holidays. So what I've done with these last ones, this 10, 11, and 12, I've just kind of run through those myself, got to kind of condense down. Some of them have a little more explanation than others, but it lets you see everything that was included with these. And then we can get to the giveaway. I want to get this thing out to someone who could hopefully get some use out of it and learn a good bit from it. I don't necessarily need it. It's just fun to kind of go through these and share with everyone. So stay tuned and check these out. Okay, let's see what's in our day 10 box here. All right, what we've got in here is a 15 LED addressable RGB strand. And this is essentially the same thing we were just dealing with the ring LED, but in a string form. And the instructions tell us to go ahead and take everything out except for the pi. We want to pay special attention here to this one wire that's got the little dashes on it, because that's going to be important to its orientation, as you can see here on the schematic we're going to follow and hook up. So we're going to hook up the LED string here and the potentiometer that we've used before. And we're going to wire it up just like this. Okay, our first code example we have here is pretty simple and straightforward. We're doing some imports that you've seen us do before, and we're just going to define the pin that the string is on, and we're going to define the number of LEDs, and we're just going to fill it with the color red for 10 seconds and then turn it off. That's all this one's going to do. There's no loop or anything like that. It's just a good basic test of our LED string and verifies everything's kind of hooked up correctly. And you can see when I change the view, after about 10 seconds, the LED string will go off, and that's working as expected and means our wiring is good to go here. Okay, the next example I jumped ahead to for day 10 here is this one. You can see some stuff here that's similar than before. One thing we're doing is using some variables to set the count and to select a color, which is a good practice to get into instead of like embedding those down in the code, right? So that's a good example they're showing us here. And you can see we're also using a range thing, and see how the range is referencing a variable we set up there instead of like a fixed number. So that's also a good practice. And if we take a moment and look at the code here, what I believe it's going to do, as you can see, based on the range variable, it's going to just light it up and go one way and then turn it and go back the other way, essentially. Let's see if that's what it does. And as you see here, it looks like it's doing exactly that. So that's a pretty cool example. All right, let's check out this next example I picked from day 10. See, some things look the same here, but we've added in the ADC. Remember, that's the analog to digital converter. And you'll see we're going to bring our potentiometer into play on this one. And pay attention here to this LED division thing, where it's 65535 divided by the LED count variable. You'll see that come into play with the range that we get from the analog to digital converter to decide how many LEDs to light up. And it's going to use a random color each time. But what's going to happen is, as we play with that potentiometer, it's going to basically kind of like rise it up. Imagine like a little thermometer or like a volume knob or something. As you turn it up, more LEDs are going to light up. And as you pull it back, the LEDs are going to start turning off. And if you look here, that seems to be exactly what it's doing. So it's pulsing them random colors, but the number of LEDs that are on is directly related to the position of the potentiometer. So that's a pretty darn cool example. And I believe that is the last example for day 10 here that we're going to show. Okay, let's see what we have here in our day 11 box. This is a 4-way membrane keypad. This looks like 5 male-to-male jumper wires. And this is our 5-way extra long header strip. So to prepare for today's projects, the instructions tell us to remove the wires and everything that have to do with the potentiometer and of course the potentiometer itself. And then we're going to add the keypad and actually the little cube LED, if you remember that from an earlier day in the advent calendar. We're just going to make things match this schematic. Okay, this first code example is pretty straightforward. We're just setting up all these pins that correspond with keys 1 through 4. And you can see there's just a while true thing there. And you'll see as we press the buttons, we just echo out what we've pressed. And I'm just goofing around there, hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, back and forth. And that looks like it's working okay. So that just kind of proves to you that your wiring and all that is set up correctly. Okay, so in our next code example here, we're going to have a while loop that's going to look for button presses. And then when one's pressed, it's going to call a function and it's going to give it 2 arguments, the color variables. And the function itself runs a for loop, which sets the colors. And then it's going to wait and see if there's another button press. So button 4 is going to turn it off, and 1, 2, and 3 are going to be different color combinations. And you'll see down in the code what those different color combinations are, whether it's aqua green, white, blue, yellow, pink, and then number 4 is off. And they'll just go through that until we stop it. And as you can see here, it looks to be working as expected. I pressed the different buttons 1, 2, and 3, and we're getting the different color combinations. And then you'll see I'll press 4 and it actually turns off. So that's working pretty well. In this next code example, we've got a while loop, and within that we've got nested other while loops, which depending on which button you press is going to change the rate at which the square LED flashes. Some of this might get kind of goofed up with the camera shutter speed, but you ought to see a little bit of how the flashing changes as we press each button. And that's what this code does. This next code snippet was just a little something to help prevent erroneous input if you had code where you're trying to hold down a button to do a certain thing. And it's just got some logic in here. I won't really dwell on it. You can look at it. But say I press button 1 down. If while I'm holding 1 down and I press another button, 2, 3, or 4, it's not going to let that go or cause any confusion because the one's going to take precedent. It won't look for a new button press until all of them are low again, like you've let go of everything. So right there, I'm trying to press 2 after holding down 1. See there? And it's just letting me, it's not changing until I let go. All right, this next example they're showing us is like a little password thing here. As you can see, we've got a list of presents here in a list form, and we've got a password 1, 2, 3, 4, our passcode also in a list form. And we've got some code down here that's gonna, make it when you enter your 4-digit PIN, it won't echo that out. You'll see a little asterisk. And if you get it wrong, it's not gonna do anything. It's gonna kick you back out and say denied. And if you get it right, it's gonna show you the list of toys. Let's see if it works. Okay, you see here I failed. So we run it again, and this time I'll put it in correctly, and then you'll see the list kick back. So that works as expected. Pretty cool example. And that's it for day 11. Okay, let's see what we have in our day 12 box here. Looks like in here we've got a 16x2 LCD, and you'll see on the back here it's got the I2C backpack. So that makes it a lot easier to work with because you can do it over I2C instead of messing with all those separate pins. And of course you got some male to female jumper wires here. Okay, before we build up today's projects, the instructions tell us to remove the block LED as well as the 4-button keypad that we used yesterday. And then we'll continue building it back up, matching the schematic here. So the LED string stays, and we'll be adding the temperature humidity sensor that we used on day 9, as well as wiring in this new LCD display. And just like day 9, we've got to install a code library, and we have to do 2 of them for this LCD thing. One is this LCD API.py, and the other is the Pico _ I squared C LCD.py. And we will just copy and paste those from these GitHub links and save these files on the Pico itself. Okay, our first code example here is just going to have us write some basic text to the LCD display. If you notice here, the code is similar to when we messed with the humidity and temperature sensor before. We've got a lot of I squared C specific things we're doing here. If you notice, it's got an address, and you'll see later how important it is that these things have unique addresses. Now, I actually tried to push this and it wasn't working. And it took me a minute, and you'll see here I'm flipping around the powering round. Somehow I had that messed up, and thankfully it didn't goof it up. And you can see here it's displaying the expected text. This next code example they have here for today is called the everything script. It's got some pretty self-explanatory stuff in the code. I'm not going to go into each and every one, but I'll show you what it does here in just a second. It just goes through and shows different features that have to do with this LCD display. The next example was a pretty self-explanatory counter, and you can see the code for that and what it looked like when it was running right here. In this next example, we've got 2 things now on our I squared C bus. We've got the display, and we've got our temperature humidity sensor, and you can see us define each address there. And those can't overlap or you'll have problems. And what we're going to do is basically like from the earlier days, we're going to just read the temperature and humidity, but then we're going to write that to the display. And here's what that looks like. And just to see if it would change, you can see I breathed on it right here to see if it would raise up either one of those values. And it looks like it changed a little bit. This next code example is just a slight variation on the previous, but this time we've got some code in there, and it's going to show the current temperature. And then after it cycles every so often, you're going to see if it's lower than before. If it's the lowest it's sensed so far, it's going to put that into the low. If it's higher, it's going to put it in the high. So then your display is basically showing you the current temperature and the lowest it's sensed in this session and the highest it's sensed in this session. So that's kind of handy. And this one, we're bringing the LED string back into the mix, and we've got code that's going to change the colors on the string, but it's also going to display the name of that color on the LCD. Now, this is a neat one. This is called the random color finder. And what it does is it's going to put a random color on the string. And if you see something you like, it's also going to show you on the LCD the values for R, G, and B. That way, if you see something you like, you can make note of what it is so you can recreate it later or use it in some other project. So this 16:2 display is pretty cool, but sometimes you have the information that's a bit longer than that, and you need the ability to scroll through it. And that's what this example code lets you do. And check this out. You can see it showing you here a scrolling text example. So that is pretty handy and could be handy for future projects for you when you check out this code. And with that, we are done with day 12, and we are done with the Make It Glow Advent Calendar. Hey, you made it. So let's talk about this giveaway. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all this stuff. You're going to get the one that I actually worked with during this video series. This isn't sponsored. This isn't getting drop shipped. I'm literally going to probably put these in little baggies. So these may not be in the original box. I'm going to try to pack them down so it's going to be small. And I'm going to pick one of the people that comment on this video. And you need to use a keyword in there, all caps, Advent, ADVENT, if you want to be entered. And you have to be in the US. You have to be in the United States, and I will send this to you at no charge. But there's no warranty, no guarantees, any of that. I'm going to take what I can get together here out of this series, and I'm going to send it to you so you can play with it. So it's going to include all these little miscellaneous pieces and the Pico. Now, here's the one thing. If you enter this, make sure that you are getting email or notifications when someone replies to your comment, because the last few giveaways I've done, I've had a heck of a time. I'd had to pick multiple people to try to find someone who would actually respond so I could send the thing out to them. So here's what I'm going to do. Again, you got to be in the US. You have to use the keyword Advent to indicate that you're in the US and that you would like to be entered to get this. And we're going to have a random comment picker pick one of those. And so after it picks one, I will reach out and reply to that comment. And if I don't hear back within 48 hours, I'm going to do it again, because it's taken me a super long time to get the last few things away. So hopefully that will be communicated effectively, and we can get this out to someone that wants it. I appreciate you guys watching this series. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.